Okay, guys, so now we are in Power Query. We've put in our data, but unfortunately, we're only seeing three tables. That's the COA related tables. We are not seeing our GL. Now, the good thing about Power Query is it's very, very flexible. Okay, so over here, you can see your queries. That's what you see over here. This is a preview of the data. These are all commands that allow you to do some cleaning. We call it ETL, extract, transform, and load. I'm giving context to those who are not familiar with this, especially my AppSheet users and viewers. So this is ETL, it's Excel's cleaning tool, one of the very powerful tools in Excel you should always use. Okay, now to quickly bring in a GL, okay, we need to understand how Power Query works. Now over here, we have something we call applied steps. So everything that's happened to this data to bring it to this point is listed out over here. When you create a new step, it's listed out over here. This helps Power Query to carry out your actions again whenever the data is updated. Is that okay? So you don't need to do this over and over again. So the first thing that happened was that the data was obtained from source. Now this is the source. Okay, that's our Google Sheet link. These were all the files in there. And then there was a navigation to the file you wanted. That was a COA class. And then it promoted headers. So when you come back here, you notice the headers are also what a row. That's row one. And there's an action to promote header. So you promoted the first row as your header, and then it changed data type. Every column needs to have a specific data type. So here you see ABC123. It means Excel has not been able to determine the data type. So once it does, it tells you that, okay, this is number, this is text, 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 text. We'll come back to that, but let's see how we can also bring in a GL. So with that in mind, I can just duplicate this particular query. Okay, so I have COA class 2. I'll come here and name this GL. If you already have this, you are in luck. You don't need to go through this entire process. But if you don't, just follow me. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to delete all these steps. So no, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to delete the promote header. And I'm going to delete change types as well. So I have source and I have navigation. Now you see there is an icon over here next to navigation, the gear icon. So when I click on the setting icon, it's going to show me a preview that shows me which particular table was navigated to. So now I'm going to change this to GL, click OK. Good. And then when I do that, Excel automatically promotes the header. So over here, you see this was the header. It has promoted it and it has changed the data type. Fantastic. Good. So what we're going to do in Power Query is a number of things. First, we're going to create a master chart of accounts. Okay, that combines these three into one file. And then we're going to have our GL as well as another file. Good. But let's first clean this up, set the data types to the right things. First and foremost, our account code, even though our numbers, we don't want to use them for calculations. So we're going to set them to text. So you just click on this icon and then you click on text. And then this sets this particular icon or this particular column to text. So replace current. Good. So we have this as text, name, type, statement, and then we have labels. Okay, so we can take out this by just clicking it. You right click and then you select remove column and that is gone. Good. And then you notice that this is recorded as a step. So when you come to the previous step, it was there, the next step, it's gone. So subsequently, whenever the data comes in, that column will always be removed. Is that okay? Good. Now, let's do the same thing for details and main. So main account, I'll come here. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to set this to text. Okay. Yes, replace the current. And I'll do the same thing for this. I'm going to say text, where are you? Good. Replace the current one. Good. Okay, I'm going to leave the type over there, but we're not going to use this type. We rely on the type in the class. Let's do main as well. So text. And I'm going to set this to text. Okay, so we've done this. Good, 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 good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come here and we're going to take out these totals. We're using these totals in AppSheet, okay? But then we don't need it over here. So we're going to take it out. Now, again, with Power Query, you want to make it as flexible and dynamic as possible. we don't want to go in and uncheck all these ones, right? Because we never know what other totals will come in the data. So rather, we're going to use a dynamic formula. That was going to say anything that contains the tilde and then total, we want it out, or the arrow sign, we want it out. Is that okay? So I'm going to come here, and then once I select this, I'll come to the bottom here and copy this guy, click on the drop down text filters, and I'm going to say does not contain. So in Power Query, we do not delete, we filter out. Okay, so items that do not contain this. Is that okay? Let me take out the space. So it does not contain this. I want to keep those. I'll click OK. And then everything that contains that has been filtered out. You see that? Good. I also can now filter out those that contain um, this arrow. Copy this as well. Now you see over here, this step. I'm going to click the gear icon. Okay. Also does not contain. I'm going to put over here this. Click OK. And those are also filtered out. Good. Last one is this 999. I'm going to take this one out. For that, I can just filter this over here and check this guy. Yeah, and it's gone. It's okay, good. So the total is gone, and then our main account looks clean. Good. For details, I don't think we have anything on those helper rules over there. Fantastic. And class, we don't have that. Good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new table or query, which is going to be chart of accounts, COA. Okay. So let me move this guy here. So we'll come to merge queries, click this, and then we'll click on merge queries as new. So what we're doing is we are merging, sort of like a lookup. Okay, so merge queries as new, to create a new one. Okay, good. So we have chart of COA class. Now we need to select the columns that will help us do the merging. So I'll select this guy, and I'll come here and I'll select the account, which is main. So merging this guy with this. Okay, so this is 9 of 9. Everything matches. Good. I'm going to click OK. So we have over here our account code class. We have the name, we have the type, we have the statement. Good. And then we have the entire table for the main. Is that okay? But we don't need the entire table. First, let me change the name to COA, just COA. Okay. Now I'm going to click on this arrow. Is that okay? Good. Click on this arrow and I'm going to select what I need. So from this table, I only want, so uncheck this, select the code and the name. I don't want the class of account. That's the class of accounts. This particular column, I don't need it. And I don't need the type. So over here, I'll check this as well and I'll click OK. Good. So this right here just pulls in all these particular rules relating to these items. So we have name over here, but this becomes name 1. So I'm going to change this to name main. So I know that this is from the main. Good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to also pull in the details as well. Okay. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to click merge queries. This time, not as new, but just merge queries. Okay. So COA, I'm going to click this time. I'm using the main, okay, account code, and I'm going to select the account details, and then I'll link it up with this. So this matches to this. Good. And then we are okay. And we're just going to click okay. Good. Right. And I'll do the same thing. Click on the expand icon. Right. And then I'm going to uncheck everything. Select just the code and the name. I don't need these two. I'm just going to click OK. Good. So just like that, we have the account code details as well. Is that okay? So here there's a blank. There's no match between this and this, but that's fine. And I'll come here. I'm just going to call this name details. So these are the details These are their code. This is the main, this is the code, and this is the main one, which is revenue, expense, the likes. All right, good. So now that we have this in place, okay, we can now come to the GL, and then we can now work on the GL. So for the GL, the data types, ID is just going to be text. Okay, now this is text. Entry date is going to be date. Okay, and then this is going to be date. Transaction date is going to be date. Transaction, so replace current here. Then we have description, which is text. Account code has to be text. Now, the reason why I'm making sure everything is text is because we're not going to use it for calculation, but you can use it as number. But the most important thing is if it's text in chart of account over here, you see all the columns are text, text, text. Then over here as well, you need to set it to text. You can't have it as number in one and text in the other, right? It doesn't help. Okay, now we have debits and we have credits, we have data type, we have net debit, net credits, we have statements, and then we have run script. Now we don't need statement and run script. These two were just performing a duty in our what's the word? Our Google Sheet. So we can just right click and delete it. But a much cleaner way to remove columns, okay, this is very important, is to come to home and you come to choose columns. Okay, choose columns and you uncheck them. Now I explain to you why this is very useful. Now I click OK. Now when I remove columns, you see over here, I have a gear icon. I can always come back to look at the columns I removed. Okay. Now if you look at the other ones I worked on over here in the COA class, when I removed a column, there was no gear icon. So there's no way to know the columns you removed unless you come back here and then you see, okay, this is label, it's here, and it's no longer here. So probably that's what you removed. Okay, but sometimes it'll be difficult. If you have multiple, it'll be difficult for you to know which one you removed. So that's just a helpful tip to know. Always go to choose columns and remove your columns rather than just right clicking and removing them, even though that is simple and faster. Okay, so there are certain things I'm going to take off as well. I don't need the ID, so I'm going to take that off. I also don't need, believe it or not, I don't need this debit as well. I don't need these values as well. I probably will not use them for anything, so I'll take all those out. So I'm going to click this, and then I'm going to take off my ID. I'm going to take off my debit and credit. I don't need those, and then I don't need the type as well. I need the account, entry date, transaction date, and then transaction ID is also very helpful. But the rest I don't need. I'm going to click OK. Good. So now this become cleaner, right? And then you can always come back to see the columns you took off, and then you can bring them back. You can always bring them back if you feel that at some point you need them. Okay, so now we've cleaned our GL. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a calendar table. Okay, now this is going to be a dynamic table, and that is always going to expand whenever there's new entries into our GL. Okay, now how do we do this in Power Query? All you need to do is right click here, new query, you come to other sources, and then you select blank query. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to create a calendar table, right? Now, the purpose of this calendar table is to make sure that we have every date captured because, in the GL, not every date is going to be captured, right? Only when transactions occur. But then for the purposes of a calendar table, it has to have every date captured. Okay, so this formula I'm going to show you is something I learned from Finex that ensures that every date is captured in your calendar table. So let's do this. Equal to number dot from. Okay, so we are using a list of numbers. So we're going to say number dot from. Then we're going to list dot main. So from a list, okay, we're taking the minimum value, open bracket, GL. Okay, that's our table's name. So we're going to this table, GL, and we're taking the transaction date, so trans date. That's how it's called over the trans date. So what this formula is basically saying is take the least value in this column, that's list domain, and then convert it into a number. Okay, good. And then we're going to bring two dots over here, which means in Power Query a list. We're going to say the same thing, number dot from. This time, list dot max. Okay, and then we're going to say the same thing, GL. GL open brackets. right? I'm going to say trans date. Okay, so now that we have this in place, all we're going to do is put this in curly brackets. So open curly bracket like this and close curly bracket like that. Is that okay? So number dot from list on main GL trans date, number dot from list on max GL trans date. You press enter. Okay, so once you press enter, you just see this list over here. So this number you see over here represents the first date or the earliest date in your data all the way, okay, listing it one by one. So you see it increases 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to the largest date in your data, which is this. Is that okay? So it gives you a complete data. So now all you need to do is just click to table. You're transforming this into a table. You just click OK over this point. Good. And then you set this to a date. Good. So now it starts from 5th January because that's the very first date in your data. So every date is captured. So 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and so on and so forth. Now you want to change this to dates. Okay. And from here, you can now pull in all the needed columns. So you come to add column, click here, and then you go click on what month. It gives you the month number over here. Select this, come here, then select what month name. So you have the name of the month coming over here. Fantastic. You click this and you select this, select what year. You have this over here. You can even pull in what weeks, quarter. So you come here and then say quarter of the year. We'll just give you the quarter over here. You see. So all this is what very helpful stuff. Now, before I go, I'm just going to truncate this. So I'll extract the first 3 characters. But I will not do this under add column because if you do this under add column, I want you to see something. If I do this 3 under add column, it creates what? A new column. This is not what I want, right? I want to transform this. So I'll come to transform. That's the difference between these 2 columns. And then I'll see also extract here. I'll select this. I'll press 3. Click OK. And it gives me the first 3 characters of each month, right? So that's how we do it. So this is currently working for me nicely. And I'm going to name this query calendar. Good. So now we have our calendar done. We have COA and we have GL. Okay, now before we take this out and take it into the data model, let's create one more column over here. So let's select these 2 fields and then we're just going to sum them up. So you select net debit and net credit, come to add column, and then we're just going to come to standard and then just say add. Good. So just going to do an addition and then we're going to call this amount. So this is basically the net amount for each particular account, right? Good. So this is the net amount. Fantastic. So now that we have this, we're just going to close and load soon. We'll come back to Power Query as we understand our data more. But for now, let's just keep it simple. And then once we understand the needed transformations we need to do, we'll come back and we'll do them. Okay, so I want you to click on only create connection and then add this data to the data model and click OK. Good. So now that this is loading, we're going to draw the curtains on this video. And then once we come back, the next thing we need to do is go